Hi, how's it going? So today we're going to be looking through some of my old comic books, the drafts. There's nothing here that's finished. These are just ideas, concepts, and like I say, sort of drafts. The first of which is the Shrike. Now, the Shrike was going to be part of a series of comic books I was going to do that they're anthologies, so the stories weren't necessarily connected. They were going to be dealing with the idea of the fantastical, but also very human things like loss and loneliness. And it's something that kind of got a bit too big for me, but I used a lot of the ideas and the characters in my more recent comic book project, The Scrambled Eggs. So the character Nick, who you'll meet soon, is in Scrambled Eggs as well, but he's very different. He's not this chap at all, really. So yeah, it starts off with rutting stags, and the loser stag then goes into the woods. Like I say, these are all pretty rough, and these are from roughly 5 years ago, I'd say. He's going to get some water, some drink after his defeat, and then there's this Nick character, and unfortunately he shoots this particular stag, and then it's back at his house, and he's taxidermied this stag, so you'll find out why in a minute. So here comes the fantastical element. So there's this talking bird, a shrike bird. Now, if you know anything about shrikes, they like to, they're quite a small bird, and they like to catch mice and then put them on thorns. They like create a larder for themselves. So basically there's this Nick guy. He's very lonely, almost like the rutting stags. I mean, he's got antlers himself. That's kind of the result of a scientific thing, but that was going to come on later, and I never really got onto that. But anyway, so yeah, there's this little bird, and he basically uses Nick's loneliness against him, because the shrike is kind of his only friend, but he's forcing him to do his murderous deeds. And he's got a collection. I don't know if you can make that out. It's a bit of a strange angle, but these are all different animals that he's killed, and the shrike's managed to get a collection of all the animals in the world, sort of like a macabre Noah's Ark. But the one animal he hasn't got is a human, and Nick feels a bit weird about killing a human, but the shrike tells him that he'll leave him for good if he doesn't complete his collection. So again, using his loneliness against him. And like I say, it's very fantastical. It's Nick's a mute, or he is in this iteration, and he lives in the middle of nowhere, hence why it's sort of I don't know whether he's the bird was meant to be the result of a scientific phenomena that happened that also results in Nick's antlers, but it could also be that he's lost his mind a little bit due to his loneliness or whatever. So the next day, Nick now feels like he has to go and find a human head, so he tries to pick on some runners. So these are the runners. This guy here likes this lady here. She didn't quite feel the same. And then Nick's written a sorry note on a tree. So the idea was that these guys ran through near Nick's place every day, or often enough for him to think of just writing this note, something that would stick out if he saw it, I'm sure. in the real world. So yeah, he shoots this guy, and this was only meant to be quite a short thing, so there's not too much build up. So yeah, scream, yada yada yada. Nick loads his gun, and he goes after this lady. The idea of that is to maybe, I think the animals were meant to be in pairs, much like the Noah's Ark, but also maybe so there's no repercussion for his action. So yeah, we've got her running out of the woods. Nick's following her. He goes to shoot, but the stag from the beginning of the page, the winning stag, sees Nick, and he sees his antlers, and he thinks he's a potential threat to his libido, let's say. So they have a rut off, but of course Nick's got a gun, so he wins, unfortunately. And he goes back to the scene, but the chap that he actually managed to shoot has disappeared. Again, it was going to sort of advance the story a little bit. So, and then it's back at his cottage in the middle of the woods, and the bird, the shrike, is telling Nick off for not getting him a human like he promised. And then Nick's got a book that says how to make friends, because he's so socially inept that he doesn't really know, and maybe he realises that he's going to need a different friend. So there was lots of problems with that story, but that was the basic concept. I think then from those drafts I then edited it a little bit. Like I say, these are rough sorts of things. But the character of Nick is in Scrambled Eggs, my new story, and once again he's a loner, but he's a good guy now, and he wasn't a bad guy there. He was just under the influence of loneliness and this murderous bird. So anyway, like I say, they're kind of fantastical, a bit silly here and there. I like things that poke fun at themselves, that don't take themselves too seriously, but I also like dark humour, and typically dark things in general. So yeah, it's macabre but also quite silly. So this was another story in that anthology called the Patchouli Children. Once again, it was sort of set, well, it was set in the same location, all these stories were, but they were all separate. So the Patchouli Children, they've got this cat Bootsy, who is actually my cat, and there's these 3 recently orphaned children, so their parents have gone missing. They've been missing for like a year, let's say, or a substantial amount of time. And the cat Bootsy sort of, he looks after the kids in some sense in bringing them birds to eat. So yeah, and there's 3 children. There's sort of like the youngest of the children, Bo, is based on my younger brother of the same name. And then there's the other 2 kids. Now Bo is actually going to be in Scrambled Eggs, but these other 2 kids aren't. I think her name was Nuna, and Glebe I think was the older kid. He was sort of like the middle kid, so she was the eldest. So she felt she'd sort of got the burden of looking after the other 2 in a sense, which is something that I felt as a kid. I used to look after my younger brother a lot, so there's a lot of me in this particular character. So yeah, and then they're sort of remembering their parents. There's a photo on a thing, and then there's just them left on the sofa. They're there with a fire. Glebe's eating one of the birds that Bootsy's brought back. And then there's, I'm guessing, I must admit I've not looked through this. So basically I'll try and fill in the rest from what I can remember. So basically the kids fall asleep on the sofa, and then there's this horrific scream that wakes up Bootsy the cat and Bo, the younger child. They run to the window, and it's this creature called a Scraggle that used to be human, but it's sort of like this hoarding, terrifying presence, this happy face right here. And she gets into the house, steals Bootsy, the cat, and then it's then the rest of the story is the kids gonna go and rescue the cat from the Scraggle. So it was kind of like the kids having to grow up a little bit and work together to get their beloved cat back. So that was their story, but it was, again, like with the Shrike, that first story, it was going to develop into sort of other things. And then the elements that I've liked from that story have now fed into Scrambled Eggs, my new project. So this was a poster that I did for it back in the day. Like I say, this is about 5 years old, maybe 6, which is crazy. Don't feel like it's been that long. So yeah, it was going to be an anthology with the Shrike, so this character right here, the Patchouli Children, there's this other character called Lara, there's Major Gubbins, and Rudy and Goon, who I've talked about before. And then that was for the sake of Photoshop, for an extra layer. So it's that drawing just with a few things split in. That was a cover idea. So this is before I really practiced drawing. I didn't study, so there's a lot of issues, but it was also a lot more stylized, I suppose. So as I've said in the past, it's something that I kind of want to go back to with this newfound knowledge that I've got on certain things. So that's the Scraggle, who again is in the new story, but she's a lot different. These are some animation type things that I did. So Charlie, or Major Gubbins as she's called in this particular iteration, she was sort of like a scavenger in kind of like the Fallout sense of the word. So she'd go and find things and sell them in this market that used to be a mall, but it's since become like a refuge for a few people that have survived this event, this scientific event. It is loosely based on post-apocalyptic things. I was quite into that a few years ago, like everyone was. I think it was definitely in the zeitgeist, so I took a lot from that. But yeah, once again, these two characters. So the fly's called Tone, and this person right here is called Charlie. They're in Scrambled Eggs as well, but they are a hell of a lot different. It's more the concept of the character. Like some of their traits have gone over, their design to a long thing, but their story, the way that things plan out, is different. So once again, she also had a mannequin called Emily, but that's since passed. There's a character here called Leroy. Again, he's going to be in a new story, but he's adapted a bit. The Patchouli Children, looking a bit scary. This is again Tone and Major Gubbins, Rudy and Goon. And this is a Lara. So a Lara is roughly based on a person that I saw in a hotel window early morning. It must have been like 6:30 in the morning. I was at work. We were driving, and there's a hotel near where I live at the moment called the Lara Hotel, and I saw this middle-aged maybe in her 50s, topless woman smoking, using the window to get rid of the smoke. And it was you could tell that she was quite upset, and it really stuck with me. And so that's loosely what the character of Lara is based on in the story. It's basically her. She's had some sort of engagement with someone. They've left the hotel room. Some sort of, she's maybe cheating, or maybe he or her are cheating on who they're with Lara. And yeah, it's just quite a sorry state of affairs, really. But then there's going to be a bunch of events that then sort of had to bring a few of these people together in terms of like who she's cheating with and their partner, and she was going to be a policewoman. Yeah, it was more of a character-based story than it was like, kicking, screaming, shooting guns and all that sort of thing. So yeah, but that's Lara, and again, she's in the latest version of the comic that I'm working on, the graphic novel. So this is me basically sharing some of the things that have led me to the point where I'm at now. So this is a slightly later iteration when I finally decided to bring these things together. This is Rudy, just Rudy at this point, chasing this person that's left with a bird. That's the shrike bird. And again, things were going to play out more similar in this particular iteration. So again, this is maybe like 4 years ago. So there was a lot more of the characters in it. I have trimmed things down, made it a bit more simple. But yeah, she's a scientist from what I remember. This bird's been scienced on. It's been experimented on. And Rudy and Goon work for the city as goons, as hitmen. It's the people that you call if you want a problem sorting out, let's say. So they've been told to retrieve this bird. Sorry. And yeah, unfortunately she doesn't make it out alive, but the bird's escaped. But in this iteration, because it's all loosely sci-fi. Again, we're missing a page. So yeah, there's a chip in everyone's foot that stores all the data, stores all memories and all of that sort of thing. And that's what Rudy's getting there. He's taking her shoe off, and then there was another page or two of him removing this chip from her foot so he could then give the intel back to his boss. So that's that. But again, a lot of those ideas haven't made it into Scrambled Eggs. It was just a path on the journey that's led me to the, hopefully the finished result, which again, I think I've said before, it's like 8 years, maybe 7 years in the making so far. And then these are more recent designs, character designs. I think maybe from last year, maybe the year before. So there's a group of guards that patrol the city. So I was trying to design some helmets for them, something that's quite intimidating. So I sort of went with the skull motif. And this is me just figuring things out. I still haven't decided exactly what the skull's going to look like. But I want them to be quite menacing. I think I took some inspiration from the Combine. If you've played Half-Life 2, you'll know who those guys are. This is a character called Bill, who is now called Franklin. And he sort of rules the city. He's in control of this futuristic city. But again, his character's changed a little bit since then. This is that Leroy chap that you might remember I mentioned. I think it was only in passing, but yeah, Leroy lives out in the wastelands, the dilapidated, what's left of nature sort of thing. Back to some more helmet designs, and like I say, I've not actually finished designing them, but I think I was leaning towards more this sort of thing and having some sort of camera device in there. Some versions of Rudy, some versions of Goon. This is Bo. So I'm going to rally through these last little bit because yeah, I don't want this video to be too long. It's already 20 minutes. So yeah, this character Bo. This is Charlie again. This is that Nick. So the guy from the Shrike who had the antlers on his head with the hat. This is Nick. And his design's similar, but his character has changed quite a lot. Although he's still a loner, he's still a recluse. This is a Lara, who again I've made a lot younger. She's out of all the characters, she's the most different, but she still has an air of vulnerability about her. This the first few designs of the Queen that I did. So there's this King and Queen that they're self-appointed. They've got a cult of people that follow them, some loyal subjects, and they live out in this barren excuse for a planet that they live on, which I haven't decided if it's Earth or a different planet, but I think it is Earth. Goon again, saying his name for some reason. Some more Charlie. Some outfit designs. This is Franklin again, making him a bit older. Sort of like the token evil entrepreneur that runs everything. I think this is another design of that character. Some more versions of Lara. Some of Charlie. Again, just a random. Oh, this is closer to what the Scraggle looks like now. More animal than human. And again, these are just sort of, these are more doodles than designs, to be honest. This is me getting used to the characters, what I sort of see in my head. Some of these characters are based on real people, only loosely. Sorry, it's because I've talked for a while. And then, yeah, I'll rally through these. So, some more versions of Charlie, who has... So basically, there's clones, that they're a slave race. And there's different batches of clones, and Charlie's sort of like the lowest tier of clone, let's say. So all the best clones end up in some sort of they end up as police, or you know, they get the better jobs, let's say, as Charlie's sort of like lowest run. And she's got potentially fingers missing, or you know, I've not really, I mean, I don't know whether to go down that route, but there's she's going to have some sort of like defect, let's call it, which is an awful term, but yeah. This is some of the forest design. So I don't want to share too much, but there's a forest, or part of a forest, that's quite an eerie place, and it's very human, sort of like plant-human hybrids. Some rough designs of the Scraggle. I've not gone down this route, but trying to keep the idea of that smiley face. I don't think I will at the end. Once again, it sort of gets body parts, some ruder than others. Some more designs of the Scraggle. So going for more of a jellyfish meets parasitic sort of thing with a human face potentially. Again, the story will play out and you'll get to know more about her. And some more guards. So going down more of a military route. Also, you know, maybe like Star Wars or, you know, because as I've said before, part of the theme of scrambled eggs is the idea of Easter eggs and art becoming life becoming art. The terrible things that we cook up today might be the way that we live tomorrow. And this is kind of the worst case scenario of that. But yeah, these guards, I want them to be quite kind of intimidating to look at. Maybe not with that pose. Capes might be a way to go, but I kind of feel like capes might be a bit silly. But the silhouette of a cape, I suppose, is a lot more intimidating. So adding some sort of technology. I'm not sure whether to go like future retro with some of these things. Have big, you know, dials for things, valves, or to keep it less, you know, less is more. Sort of also potentially sexualizing these things a bit, so making them S&M. I don't think I'm going to go down that route. The idea of maybe some advertising on there, because it's cyberpunk adjacent, so, you know, all the big corporations are evil, and which they are, you know, but you know, it's there's lots of threads that are in different things in this. Treading the line of parody. Had this idea of maybe they walk on all fours. That'd be kind of scary, I think. If you've seen the sequel to Wizard of Oz, The Rollers, I think they're called, I can't remember what they're called, but something like that. Yeah, they're pretty scary. So having these stilt type things, I must have spilt some water on there. Again, maybe having a happy face, you know, like a terrifying silhouette with a smiley. But I think I've seen that in other things now, so I might stay away from that. But I did a lot of these that day. Oh, I'm missing a couple. Sorry. The tripod I've got is terrible. I keep budging it. So yeah, another idea, overly simplified. It's got sort of a portal feel to it, I think. That's maybe how it opens. And yeah, we'll just go. So, lots of ideas. Again, some more Scraggle. It's got a spore hole. It's got some lungs on its side. Yeah. Again, making it Geiger-esque or Giga. Again, sort of like the alien, like the xenomorph is kind of or a lot of his work, including the xenomorph, is quite sexualized. So maybe having that sort of thing in there, something that makes it creepy, you know, uncanny. That's sort of the idea. The Scraggle again. Also, No Face was a bit of an inspiration. Although, like I say, I'm thinking these are just the beginning of designs. And in all fairness, the Scraggle, I'm not even sure if I'm going to show it. But I think it'd be fun too. So these aren't necessarily what it looks like, these are just concepts. A Charlie. So the lower tier clones, let's call them. I've thought that they're being body bags basically, and their heads are covered. And yeah, more like this maybe, or a happy face again. But anyway, I think this video's gone on long enough. But yeah, that's just a big pile of drawings that I found recently while clearing some things out, things that I'm thinking of keeping and putting to one side. So, as I've mentioned a couple of times, I actually move house on Wednesday, and I'm going to be without internet for... I won't have internet next Sunday, but I will have it by the Sunday after. So there won't be any videos, I'm afraid. I've not got around to pre-recording any of these things. But they will be back. I'm only going away for a week or two. I'm going to try and put a little bit more effort into these videos. Maybe actually write a script for a couple of them, especially the drawing videos. But yeah. All that's left to say is thank you if you've made it this far. Thank you if you've subscribed, if you've liked, if you've, clicked the bell, or all of those sort of things. It does mean a lot to me. This channel has actually grown pretty fast. I'm really surprised, especially considering the quality of some of these videos. But I thank you for sticking around. If some of the people have really been supporting me. And yeah, there is more to come. I'm gonna really throw myself at this. I've got lots of lovely things coming to Patreon. It's a bit barren at the minute, but I have got some things coming there. So if you want to support me that way, that would be lovely. Just, it is a bit barren, so maybe hang on a little bit. Yeah, just thank you. Just thank you. And there will be more. If you've got any questions, if you want to email me via my website, if you've got any questions about, if you want me to look at your work and help you a little bit, if you've got any suggestions for me, how I could make my work better, I'm open to all those things, so please get in touch. And lastly, thank you again. Right, I am going to go now because this video is probably too long. So I'll see you in a few weeks. If you want to keep up with me in that period, I am on Instagram. I do plan to keep doing Instagram things. So yeah, follow me there. But yeah, I'll see you in a couple of weeks if not. All right then. Toodaloo. Be good to yourself. Bye-bye.